myself a cup of tea. Isn't this a pretty little pot? This is a couple days later than we had the big tea. The four of us, Susan, Julie, Kai, and I, usually get together after we do one of these teas, and we call it the afterglow. A time to talk about what happened and the funny things and the sweet things, and talk about the tea in general. But since we're all in a lockdown down here, I'm going to be doing it by myself and tell you a little bit about what's been going on. Well, about 3 years ago, the same four of us gave a big tea up in our clubhouse. There we set all the tables differently. We provided all of the china and the napkins and everything. We had about 47 people, I believe. We had flowers and gifts and 3 courses of food and tea and contests for the prettiest hats. This year, we had it at the Crown and Glory. We provided presents for everyone and talks and many other things. But the Crown and Glory provided the venue and the food and everything that went along with it. I've given birthday teas and neighborhood teas and up north teas and church lady teas and cousins teas. Actually, every week I have a group of ladies come over for a Bible study, and I have a whole tray set out, all sorts of different types of teas and cookies. When we would come together as a family, we would sit at the table, the big kitchen tables that my mom had and my aunt Margaret had, and we serve up tea and we talk and talk and talk and laugh. I think it started with my grandma, who came from Denmark. I've mentioned that before. And she came, and I don't know what kind of tea she had in Denmark. I would have liked to have asked her, but I was too young. And another thing is my grandmother never spoke English very well. So it was hard to communicate with her. She kind of a pidgin English. Her daughters all spoke Danish, and so they could interpret if it was something important that we wanted to say to each other. We drank Lipton tea, good old Lipton. Why do we give teas? The four of us that have been giving the last couple teas together down here agree on the same thing. The reason we do it is we feel it's a present that we give to serve our friends and our family. My friend Kai, one of the four, and I for the last 3 or 4 years have given smaller teas to the gals in the complex. Now we live in a complex of about 88 units, so we decided a long time ago that we would have smaller teas and invite, maybe including us, maybe 6, maybe 5. And it has really turned out well. In that way, it's a smaller group and you really do get to know people better. The reason I like to put on the teas, I love the beautiful tables, all set up with china and silver and flowers. It makes my heart sing, coming together with women and sitting around a table and eating beautiful food. It takes you above the fray. It's a special moment in time. It does something for your spirit. I like wearing hats, pretty hats, and I like dressing up for the occasion. I like making open-faced sandwiches, for one thing. They're an English tea delicacy, but also is how I was raised, with a lot of open-faced sandwiches, so it's fun. And there are dozens and dozens and dozens of recipes for them. One of my favorites, and it's probably the most simple, and it's probably the most reasonable to make, is just a cucumber sandwich. I also like to make scones. I have tried and tested many, many recipes over the years, and I have a few favorites. One this week I'm going to make and give to some friends is a lime and blackberry scone. When we first came down to Arizona, went to the farmer's market, and they had small clamshells, they're called, about this big, of blackberries. I bought 16 of them. They were only 33 cents a piece, and I made a lot of blackberry jam with them. So I served that with this scone. I have questions that I like to ask them, and preface it with, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, say pass, or one rule, when somebody is asked a question and they start to answer, the rest of us have to sit quietly and listen to their answer. The questions might range depending on the people, from what's your favorite ice cream to tell us about your mother. Questions that are lighter are fine, but the deeper ones really produce wonderful conversation around the table. I think that every woman that has come has appreciated that time to talk a little deeper. In my heart, in my mind, it's a sweet occasion. It takes us out of the troublesome times that many of us have, the troublesome times that are happening right now. It is a different type of occasion. And during this occasion, it seems that often women let down their hair. We really have good conversation around a tea table. Being with other women and all of the same heart, all enjoying something different in their lives for just a moment. I, some years ago, wrote a Christmas book. But in this, I'd like to read you one of the poems that I wrote. It's called A Lost Art. One of the greatest gifts I believe anyone can give is a listening ear. And as long as I live, I will appreciate the time that has been granted to me by those who are kind, even sometimes when we disagree. Conversation is a dialogue, the sharing of ideas, thoughts tossed back and forth to think on and respond to, because it loosens up the heart. And the mind and the spirit too. Some things you never knew you knew until the ball gets tossed back to you. So, picture this, if you please. Good company and a pot of tea, sitting across and sharing your life. A lost art, some would agree. So let's make it not a lost art. Let's do this for each other. So I encourage you, if you're so inclined, invite some friends or family to your table. Use your gift of hospitality and enjoy the time.
Every single type of tea is here. This one's Magdalene's Garden, so this is like an herbal tea.
I'm so happy to see you.
Welcome everybody to this beautiful spot, this beautiful place to have tea in the Crown and Glory Tea Room.
The air fills up my lungs.
First of all, I'd like to tell you a story. Can you all hear me?
Oh,
Okay.
what a joyful feeling.
Years ago, when one of my granddaughters, I have 7, was 4 years old, kind of a feisty little redhead, my husband was out of town. Brinny had come to stay with me overnight. So I put a booster chair up on her chair, her booster seat, and I sat in mine for a second. Then I said, Bryn, I'm going to go out and get our food. So I went to the kitchen and I plated up our meals for us. Brought them back. I set hers down before her, and I sat down and put mine down before me. And I said, Bryn, would you like to pray for a meal? And she grinned with a sweet little grin. She says, yeah, she agreed to do that. So I said, okay, let's bow our hands and let's close our eyes and bow our heads. And she did. And she started. And she said, dear Lord, thank you for grandma's cooking. Then she stopped. And so I opened my eyes and I looked, and she was studying her plate. And then she shut her eyes again, and I shut mine, and she continued. Some of it's yummy, some of it isn't. But I guarantee you, everything you have today is going to be yummy. Thank you, Father, for the ladies sitting at all of these tables. And thank you, Father, for your many blessings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Feathers in my hair and braids around my waist. I'm almost a bird.
I guess I've been inspired over the years. You know how they say a project really is you work on it all your life. I feel like this is a sort of a culmination of a lot of things. So my love for tea, my love for the saints. So each room is dedicated to a saint, subtly, so you may or may not notice it. Each room is a different country. So I love different cultures. I love when I was a little girl, my dad would travel and he'd bring back these dolls from different countries, and I always was fascinated with their clothing, the way they speak, languages, and the love of flowers. Every room has its own flower as well. But I really just wanted to create a place that was relaxing, different than what we usually come in contact with in our daily lives. A place apart to really connect with friends and family and have that one-on-one conversation that is kind of slipping away from us a little bit as a society. People feel it when they come and they're able to spend time with their friends without the loud music and the television screens everywhere and the phones everywhere. They go out refreshed and happy.
I know, we have too. This is just it's a beautiful place you've created.
I'm not trained in interior design at all. I just I look at pictures online mostly. I need to find Victorian furniture, so I type that into the app that allows you to find people selling it, and I would go to the place and I would look at it and I would buy it or not buy it, and then bring it and put it all in storage for I kind of think it was miraculous because I don't really have training in that either. So
Oh, what a joyful feeling. I think I'm gonna stay here under all these rays and soak up the sun.